So a lot of people ask me, I've got very limited space. What can I possibly do with my property? I want this video to be a highlight of what my wife and I have been doing. This is our beginning of our 5th season developing the space together. It's about a ½ acre, but when you take away the house and the driveway and the areas that we can't garden, it's barely 0.4 acres. We're on a north-facing slope. It's poorly drained. We don't get a tremendous amount of sun. And we're near a very busy, loud, and smelly road. So what can you do if you have those constraints? Let's see some of the things you can do. A space to operate a small permaculture nursery that actually earns us a pretty significant portion of our income. We're kind of sold out for the spring, almost. Permanent raised beds that have season extension built into them with really high value perennial crops intercropped with annual crops. Actually, I have a few of these, some of them just getting up to speed this spring. Space for some really exciting crops like these luscious ever-bearing strawberries and purple asparagus. Pretty young, but still getting up to speed. But lots and lots of snacks here. Little nooks and crannies here or there to grow out nursery crops and future food forests. These little containers have chestnuts in them. These containers have baby sea buckthorn. So even on a tiny place you can have hundreds if not thousands of trees growing in mobile containers. Probably our most significant single garden space is this roughly 0.1 acre backyard garden. This produces a huge amount of our food. I talk about this in greater detail in another video. I'll link to that. And we'll do an update video on this summer. But this is a beautiful destination on the southern end of our property. Lots of perennials and most of our, if not nearly all of our annuals grown in here with a lot of season extension possibility as needed. And all of this using water we pull up with a solar panel or collect with rain off the roof, no well. Room for little cold frames for more season extension. It's got some beautiful overwintered lettuce, some borage and parsley, all from seed thrown in the fall, with the lid left on for the winter to enjoy in the spring. This gets us going with lots of seeds too, seedlings. Saves tons of money and gives us a lot of extension. Not that complex or expensive to build. Little micro ponds to give habitat and ecosystem service, and also to allow us to grow some aquatic crops. Little nutrient accumulators and waterways. And even a little hand-dug well in the middle of the garden that a solar panel can lift water to fill a cistern with. Lots of high-value perennial medicinal and edible crops. Here's a ranch elder that I can take cuttings from. We can also get flowers and fruit from. Luscious black currants with asparagus and all sorts of perennial vegetables and medicines growing nearby. More elder, this one's monstrous. That's its friend. Even room for an apple tree to sneak in there. This will be the first year we get to try that. And more micro ponds with room for more aquatic vegetables and calla lilies and all sorts of fun things, as well as propagation space to continue to expand our plantings and generate income for the nursery, all right next to a pond. Very low complexity, high resiliency season extension in the form of high tunnels. We have 3 of these. They cost $1 a square foot to build using new material and generate a tremendous amount of food and tremendous amount of value in starting seeds and propagating for our use and for others. This one's next to our backyard garden. This one's in our front yard, right next to the road. The really loud, crappy road. But hey, it's still willing to grow us lots and lots of tomatoes. We'll be doing basils and all sorts of fun stuff in here, eating tomatoes in November, even next to a busy, stinky road. Even a high tunnel in our chicken yard, growing peppers and tomatoes, basil, marjoram, and shiso. and holding room for the chickens to go in and scratch around while they're at it. Lots and lots of season extension in a tiny place. Space for a little outdoor kitchen, even with some housing for birds and bees. I see a mama robin feeding her babies right now. I don't want to get too close and disturb her, but there she is. Oh, I disturbed her. She'll come back. Speaking of birds, we also have room for an entire, really intense production chicken and composting operation. This was a mowed front lawn 3 years ago. It is not that now. Even with a nice big roomy coop, we could expand our chickens if we wanted, but right now we're just adding in lots and lots of delicious perennial trees and shrubs and co-designing a chicken operation that generates wheelbarrow loads of compost per week and at least a dozen eggs a day, all from what was a front yard. We have a tiny yard in the backyard, but with a push mower we can even harvest that and bring it up front, and the chickens turn it into compost. So our little lawn is part of our food producing system. So it's a nice little lawn. Not huge, but we keep it nice and tidy with the push reel mower and collect all of that, and it goes to the chickens in the front. It's nice to have a space to have a little picnic, lay out in the sun, relax. So there's even room for a lawn in this kind of space. We've made sure to dedicate some space for the wildlife too. It's a little unsightly, maybe, to us, but the birds and the rabbits really love this Zone 5 kind of wild corridor. And we love it too. We let hops and squash and things climb over it, but there's safe spaces for them to rear their young deep inside that pile of debris. Some room to store lumber for various projects. And even on the west end, we can push a little bit past the fence right to our property line. So this is about 12 feet wide and 60 feet long, and that's a place for us to expand and have even more gardens in the future. There's even room to grow here. Certainly not the most beautiful, but there's room to store firewood, tools, resources, supplies, things to make charcoal with, room to make trellises for vining crops, places to make our own soil seed starting mixes and potting mixes, store garden infrastructure, mulch material. Our property goes right up to the road, so why not garden right up to the road? Too long a list to explain here, but you can watch another video where I talk about this area. Maybe over 100 trees and all sorts of complex things going on between us and the road. So there's even room there. This is one of the sunniest spots on the property, so we've got it packed in. And on the north side of the house, where it's shady and cool, a chance to have a beautiful shade-loving garden. There's some giant fuki and thimbleberry and all sorts of beautiful perennial plants that my wife puts in, all enjoying the shade and shelter of the space on the north. So there's a nook and cranny for just about everything here. And this isn't really even talking about everything we've got. So I certainly could show some more things, but this is enough. What I want to get across though is with a small amount of property, smaller than this, larger than this, the exact same as this, and with all sorts of constraints, wherever you live, you can grow a whole lot of food and medicine. So give it a shot. It's really worth doing. We love our life trying to do this stuff. Thanks for watching.